In a world of horror, countless hours of cinema, what is truly terrifying? What will keep the kids up at night? What scene can never be unseen? Join us as we watch everything horror and discover the 13 degrees of screams.
Welcome to 13 Degrees of Screams.
We're your hosts, Stephanie.
And Alex.
And this week we deliver some demonic dolls to unsuspecting families in Longlegs.
So, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Did you like Longlegs?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we saw it together, so obviously we were both kind of like, afterwards. And then we both had to go, so we didn't really get the chance to hash it out, so... Yeah, I liked it. I guess I was just disappointed on where they took it. But altogether, though, I would say it was still worth the watch. What about you?
I feel the exact same way. I was so hyped for this movie, first of all. The marketing was amazing.
Yes,
I don't know if you
excellent.
saw any of the weird, cryptic images and videos. But to your point, I thought it started off so strong. Let me rephrase that. Because it was good. Even what I was disappointed with was still done very well. I was just kind of over where it went. I'm like, okay, like I'm kind of tired of this trope. And obviously we'll talk about it in the plot.
But very well done.
Yeah.
If they had to take it there, it's fine.
Yeah. If you had to go that route, which you didn't, but you did.
Yeah.
So yes, I really enjoyed it. I will say, without talking about the scariness scale, it did make me feel extremely unsettled.
Oh, yeah.
Like the entire time.
You and I were both like, no. Like the whole time.
Looking at each other like, what are we watching?
I jumped a couple of times. I know that.
You did. You did. I
know
know you have issues with faces, and Longlegs decided to have a face. I'm like, why he look like that, though? Like, what is this?
I don't know. It's such a weird description because it doesn't do it justice to what Nicolas Cage is doing and like the costume and everything. And I mean, granted, even if you look up photos of it now, like you can't see a whole image of his face, which is kind of cool. But once you get to it, you're like, oh, does it have to be that?
Yeah.
And I mean, not in a bad way. Like, it's pathetic compared to what you're expecting. No, it's almost too good.
Yeah,
please stop looking at me.
I hate to be like, he was weird looking because someone might just like look like that, but he was unsettling looking. I was like, why he look like that though? Because I will say, again, we'll get to the plot, but when they show him for the first time, it is kind of like a jump scare moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Yeah,
put it away.
Because they get right to it. Like, we're only in the movie, like, 2 minutes basically in, and he jumps into frame for like a second, and then it goes to title cards, and you're it's
like a blink and you miss it moment.
Ugh, but I hated it all the same.
Yeah, but in summation, I really did enjoy Longlegs, and I do want to watch it again to see if I pick up on more things the second time around, because I will say I got a little bit confused towards the end. I'm like, and I'll point it out when we discuss it, but...
Oh, yeah. We have plenty to discuss about some things that just don't make sense, really, and I feel like I kind of tried to solve it for myself, but I almost felt like the more I read into it online, the more I was like, did that actually happen, or are people just saying that?
Interesting. I didn't look too much into it because I wanted to kind of just keep my perspective to myself, so I'd be interested to see what you looked up.
Okay.
Very interesting.
I don't know why I did double.
The podcast listeners can't actually see that we're touching our faces with both hands.
Both hands. Because you can't just dab the chin with one hand. Both hands.
Okay, that's fair. Are you ready to go into some movie background?
Yeah, sure.
Longlegs is a 2024 American horror thriller film written and directed by Osgood Perkins. It stars Micah Monroe, who was the main character in It Follows that we covered a couple weeks ago, and Nicolas Cage, who we talked about already, who also produced the film through his Saturn Films production company. What?
Oh, I was just going to say Micah Monroe. If you hadn't have told me, I wouldn't have known that she was the same person at all. I guess she has the same voice once I realized, but completely different. I know it's been 10 years, but I was like, I couldn't tell.
I couldn't either. Like I said, I saw pictures of her before we saw the movie, and then I saw who it was starring, and I was like, I wonder who Micah Monroe plays. And I'm like, that's her?
Yeah.
Looks nothing
And I mean,
like
not
her.
saying that she's, like, aged badly or anything.
No.
Like, both of them are very beautiful at their specific times. But I was like, doesn't make sense that they're the same person in my head.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah.
Not bad, just different.
Mm-hmm.
But her voice is the same.
Oh, for sure.
The film follows an FBI agent tasked with tracking down an occult serial killer whom she realizes she has a personal connection to. The movie has made $22.6 million as of this recording. And Rotten Tomatoes, it has 87%. And the critical consensus states, and this is a weird sentence I'm about to say, but it says, saturated in a disquieting mood while leveraging a nightmarishly gonzo performance by Nicolas Cage, Longlegs is a satanic horror that effectively instills panic. That's what it says. I got through that.
Define gonzo.
Actually, let's Google it, shall we? Gonzo. It is of or associated with journalistic writing of an exaggerated, subjective, and fictionalized style. Bizarre or crazy. The example says the woman was either gonzo or stoned.
I don't know what to make of that. That definition.
So a nightmarishly gonzo performance. So right. Bizarre. Yeah. And that is accurate.
Go so full gonzo with it.
Full gonzo. Yes. I'm going full gonzo tonight. So, like I said, it has 87%, but the audience score was only 66, which surprised me.
Yeah, I felt like what I was reading online was really positive. So it's interesting that there was such a difference between the critic consensus.
Yeah.
Maybe they felt more closer to what we were saying, but I don't feel like that was completely a negative to be like, don't watch it.
Yeah, no. Like we said, it's not bad. It's just overdone.
Mm-hmm.
For what the movie was going for, like what it was doing up until that point.
Yeah.
You know what? It's the same thing with Hereditary. I know I talked about Hereditary a bunch and how I was so disappointed as to where it went.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I haven't seen it all entirely, but I know what happens. So.
You didn't see all of Hereditary?
Oh, I walked out.
Did I not know that?
I don't know if I have told you. I went and saw it in theaters with Matt and Charlie. Surprisingly, Charlie stayed. But after the girl loses her head, I was like, okay, I will be going now. And I just kind of left and drove away. And I was like, I will pick you up later. Goodbye.
Really? I didn't know that.
I was upset. I don't know.
I mean, it is a highly upsetting movie.
It just made me so stressed and uncomfortable. I just couldn't anymore. Like I was crawling out of my skin. So I was just like, gotta go. And I've never really walked out aside from that movie. So.
Interesting. Yeah. So maybe we didn't really talk about Hereditary, but I really like Hereditary up until like the last act. And then it completely just, I'm like, I'm
goes
out.
Full tilt into what this movie does.
Right. I was like, the family part was the best part. Mm-hmm. The family drama turmoil.
Yeah.
And then they had to make it basically what this kind of did. And I was like, why? Why do we do that? Anyways.
I don't know. It feels like just too easy of an explanation when it could be either unexplained or done differently. I
know. I wish it was more ambiguous, but we'll get to that.
Yes. Speaking of which, are you ready for the plot?
I am, yes.
In 1970s Oregon, shown in a 4:3 home movie-like frame, a mysterious white station wagon approaches a house. A girl with a Polaroid camera runs out to see the car, but no one is inside, when she's approached from behind by a strange man with a pale face that says it's almost her birthday.
Mm-mm.
I was like, he's going to snatch her. He's going to snatch her, and I can't do it.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And the beginning has a lot of, like, just red, and then it'll cut to white, like white snow.
Yeah.
And it messed with my eyes so bad. Did you have that same experience where you're just like, I can't look at the screen, it hurts?
Yeah, well, my thing was I've never seen, I don't know, I don't think I can think of any other movie that's done that 4:3 screen. And I was like, if it's going to be like this the whole time, it's going to be really disorienting. Because I was like, too small.
We watched a movie in that
Did we?
format.
Which one?
Ghost Story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was entirely 4:3? I don't remember it being like that in theaters, but...
Yeah.
Okay. I just was like, nope.
I was like, we literally covered a movie on the podcast.
It's almost been years ago, though, at this point, too, so.
Yeah, it has been probably a year
or
and
two.
a half.
Yeah.
Almost. We're coming up to 2 years in October.
Woo, woo.
Cheers!
But, yeah, I was just like, so small, we need to be bigger. Like, I even told you, I was like, small.
Oh.
But I was also, like, uncomfortable, and I was like, maybe I want it small.
Yeah, the less I see, the better. Honestly, you could have just made a little postage stamp size
and I'd be like, oh, so comfy. It's so comfy with the postage stamp.
I can't see anything. This is great.
Yeah, just snow. I know it's white there. So now, after this point, the movie is broken into chapters. So after this whole, it's almost her birthday thing with this weird man, we cut to red images of gory scenes, and then we go back to credit scene. Like, they get a fair amount of credits out of the way, I felt like, compared to, like, the end, with intermixing these flashes of these horrific scenes in between. I couldn't focus on anything in particular. Did you notice anything in particular in those images?
There were snakes at one point, but was that later in the film? Because they do that again. They show, like, flashes of images, but there was, like, snakes
imagery. I remember during, but I don't know if I remember it being in the intro credits.
Okay. I don't know. I don't recall.
Yeah. Okay. Just wondering. And then right after that, we go into these chapters. So the first one is his letters, and it's a time jump. So 20 years later, newly recruited FBI agent Lee Harker is sent out to survey the neighborhood for whereabouts of a killer with her partner. When she gets a feeling that the killer may be in one of the houses, her partner knocks on the door and is immediately shot in the head by the occupant. I was like, we're going to get to him this quickly? Like, I was like, it has to be him. It has to be.
There'd be no other serial killer.
No.
Or not even serial killer, just killer in the whole United States. Not possible. But this really did shock me. Like, I was not expecting that. And this is when I started feeling panicky, like, immediately off the bat. I was like, mm-mm. And I will say, throughout the entirety of this movie, it's very, like, overcast and dreary.
No, there's no sun ever.
No sun, no happiness, no nothing.
You're not supposed to be.
But yeah, this was extremely shocking. And
when she searches the house, too, it's very, like, Dexter-esque because of all of the drop cloths hanging all over the house and stuff like that.
Like the plastic tarps and stuff hanging there.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, must be, like, where he's hiding out and killing people, I guess. And I was like, I'm surprised we're going to find him this quickly. But then we get to this random man sitting on the bed, and I'm like, okay, definitely not him. So it's just this guy sitting in a house that... Just
another guy killing things and people and whatnot.
I guess so.
It's great. It's a good time. Yeah. But she, like, knew, though. Like, that's a very, very important thing. She, like, looked at the house and she's like, that one.
It's got to be this one.
It's that one.
And she wanted to call for backup, and her partner was like, no, don't be silly.
And he paid the ultimate price for that.
He did.
Oh, bad times.
Right.
It's brutal. It is pretty.
Yeah, just very startling in general. Agent Harker is taken back to the station where they run tests and determine that she may be clairvoyant or at least intuitively aware of killers.
This scene where she was, like, doing all the tests in the dark.
Yeah.
I'm like, where is she? She was, like, it looked like a weird, empty basement almost. And you can't see anything except her.
And these images that they're throwing up and having her describe in one word. And then they have her do a number generator where she just has to guess the number between 0 and 100. But then the images are still in front of her. And I'm like, is she supposed to say the images as well?
Have you ever done those, like, intuitive tests online where it's, like, a video and it's like, think of a number, and then it's like, the number is blah, 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 blah. Have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah, a couple of times. I always go with, like, the numbers everyone guesses, it seems.
I know, I was going to say, I get those right all the time. I'm like, oh, me, but it's obviously,
Intuitive me,
but it's obviously, like, done in a way for you to get that numbers, but...
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm psychic. Like,
I've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, every time. That's what it felt like.
I think I read somewhere that 7 is the most common. If it's like a 1 out of 10 or something like that, 7's the most popular if you have to pick out a 1 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that has, like, something to, like, I might be speaking on my ass right now, but, like, when you roll 2 dice, 7 is the, like, because it's like a bell curve. It's like the most common number that you'll roll, like 50% of the time or something crazy like that. So I don't know if it has something to play with that, because, like, a 7, it could be 1 and 6, or a 2 and 5, or I don't know. Something about 7. It's weird.
Oh, interesting. As a result, she is assigned to a decade-spanning case of a series of brutal murder-suicides involving families throughout the state of Oregon. In each incident, the father kills his wife and children before taking his own life, and it's determined that someone else is responsible because there's a letter left at every crime scene written in a cipher that is signed Longlegs.
And we don't really ever get an explanation of what Longlegs means or why he's called that. He says something one time about in the very opening scene, he says something about, like, I have my long legs on today. I took it to mean, like, and I guess there is really no reason for the name, but I took it to mean, like, he's very fast. And that's why he can kind of, like, get around without people knowing and stuff like that. Perhaps we shall do another Google.
Yeah.
Why is he called Longlegs? Well, it's never explained in the movie why Nicolas Cage's on-screen killer is called Longlegs. There are plenty of clues that add layers of meaning to his moniker. Oh, connection to daddies and daddy Longlegs. The theme of fatherhood is one deeply embedded in the movie. Yeah, okay.
Somebody pointed out online, too, that when she's looking at the images, when they're doing the test at the station, she sees the same, like, upside-down triangle shape that she later finds in the case, and she associates that with father.
Okay. So there's really no explanation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Longlegs.
Longlegs. The handwriting belongs to none of the victims, despite no forensic evidence of any home invasion or outside parties present. Her commanding officer, Agent Carter, takes her to view the case files, and Lee quickly determines the pattern between the family's murders. It appears each family had a 9-year-old daughter with a birthday that fell on the 14th date of the month, and the murders all occurred within 6 days before or after the birthday itself. Uh-oh. When written out on a linear...
Just that little...
Uh-oh.
Anywho, back to the story. This convoluted story.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually not that bad. Like, It's really not. I thought, like I said, I got a little confused, but it wasn't anything to do with the series of events per se. But it sounds a little convoluted when you say it out loud.
Yeah. When written out on a linear calendar, the dates of the numbers form an inverted triangle with one date missing, the 13th, to complete the shape. She tells this all to Agent Carter, who takes a special interest in her with her newfound intuition, and takes her to meet his wife and daughter, Ruby. Although Lee isn't particularly social, Ruby seems to like her and invites her to her upcoming birthday party. And I was like, that's a big red flag. She can't be having a birthday today.
No. Also, saying she's not particularly social is putting it very lightly.
Yeah. Like, she literally asked in the car, like, do I have to? Before they go in.
Well, also, it's like, so she's in Ruby's room with her, and she's not even looking at her, looking around. She has a statue that's missing a head. She's like, what happened to this one? Okay. It's very...
Yeah.
She acts very weird.
Can I say, too, that Ruby's response to that was weird, too. She said its head got cut off. Like, you would know what happened to the head if it got cut off.
It could have, like, fallen or something and broke.
But cut is very specific, not fallen or broken or something. I don't know.
Ruby is actually...
an accomplice.
Yeah, it was her all along. She's not. But anyways.
Yes.
Stephanie's like, what? In this movie that I watched?
Yes.
All the way through?
Mm-hmm. Tell me the secrets. One night, Lee hears a strange noise and goes outside her home when she sees a shadow of someone standing in the woods, only to turn around to see the same strange figure enter her home. He, like, books it into her house. I was like, why'd you leave the door open?
Well, I don't know that she left the door open. And
I think she did when she walked out the porch. I saw it open behind her, I thought, but maybe I was wrong.
I know when she walked back in the house, she left it open.
Okay.
But regardless, there's somebody in her house.
Yeah, I hated that. I was like, nope.
But first she sees him outside, and she's like, going to get him. She's running out that house.
Yeah.
I'm like, good for you, because
right?
I'd be crying and calling the police. I don't know.
Immediately. I would call the police for everything in that movie. I spilled my coffee. I'm calling the police.
Longlegs is going to get me. But also she lives like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, in this really strange little cabin. It's so dark, too, when she goes home by herself. Like, you didn't leave any lights on for you?
No.
That's the first thing I do in my home. I'm like, gotta leave a light on for myself.
Also, gotta make it look like someone's home.
Yeah,
like,
that too. I'm like, you're a police officer.
She should
make
know
it look
way
like
better.
you live there.
No. She's like,
Yeah, no.
Doesn't care.
When she goes back in, she can't find the intruder, and there's a birthday card left for her, allowing her to crack Longlegs' code. I also thought it was weird that, she just had an intruder in her house. She doesn't call anyone to say anything. She just sits down and opens this letter he's left her. And I'm like, he's going to be right behind her. Because they kept showing the doorway behind her. Mm-hmm. And I thought, we'd see him, walk past or something.
Yeah, I think they were doing that on purpose to make you think, something was going to happen. Because I was expecting him to,
yeah, shame. I hated it.
Would you have rather something happen?
No, but I just didn't I wanted security in that moment, and I did not feel security.
Yeah, that was not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Longlegs was in her house. You're not going to feel any sort of security.
I guess so. The only time I felt comforted was whenever she was at work, talking to Agent Carter. And anytime else, I was like, well, whenever you're not here, it sucks.
Everything sucks. And also, so back to your point about that she just decoded the cipher or the symbols and stuff. No, it just seemed like it was one symbol meant one letter. Mm-hmm. And this case is 20 years old at this point?
Yeah, it's decades old.
It took how hard could that have been?
She was the first one that thought to use the Bible.
I don't know.
But the note specifically says something about if you tell anybody how this message came into your head, I'll kill mommy, and made weird comments about her boobs as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like no one
I feel like
out.
He kind of gave her a clue or something on how to figure it out. That's what was implied, but...
Yeah, I'm just saying, I feel like that wasn't that crazy of a thing. It was just a 1-to-1 ratio. This symbol means this letter. No one could have... Maybe it's not as easy as I think it would be, but I was like, come on, nobody? No,
no one even looked at this case until she got there, I feel like.
That's what it feels like. And then that's why I was very confused about how long this has been going on for.
Well, also, at one point, Agent Carter says that this case was basically cold, and then as soon as you touch it, it starts to ramp up. So
yeah, he did say that.
So I feel like they were at a dead end, so they just weren't looking into it anymore because nothing had happened, or at least not recently. And there's nothing for them to find out.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know how that works if they're just you know what? I give up.
Yeah, I don't know how that works either. If anyone is a cop, I'd be interested to know. What makes it officially cold? When you just stop looking.
Yeah, just let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Agent Carter soon discovers that Longlegs' one surviving victim, Carrie Ann Camera, had an unknown visitor at her psych ward. He and Agent Harker then go to search her family's farm and unearth a doll that resembles Carrie Ann. I hated it. And it opened its eyes. I was like, why? Why did it need to do that? Nothing pertains to this doll opening its eyes after. It's just a creepy moment.
Surprise.
Mm-hmm. The forensic technician finds a silver ball inside the head that gives off ominous feedback and causes Lee to see violent imagery. Even the tech says that he heard it whispering his ex-wife's name or something.
Yeah, this is when things start getting a little weird, but it's still very intriguing.
Yes.
So I'm like, what are we doing? Because now all of a sudden we have these weird, they're like dolls, but they're bigger. They're almost like mannequins, the size of a child.
They're life-size dolls. They're probably almost as tall as the child that they resemble, if not the same height.
And then he says there's nothing in the ball. And then I remember looking at you, I'm like, there's definitely something in there.
Everything is in the ball.
That is, there's something in there. For sure. What do you mean? It's just, what is this ball? So now
he's like, I can cut it open if you want. I'm like, yeah, I want.
Yeah.
Cut it open immediately. Why didn't you cut it open before I got here?
Right. Just to be safe. Hello.
Right. I've seen enough Law & Order. He could have left a note in there or something. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they did show a X-ray and you could see there was nothing in there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you never know.
Still.
Invisible things are in there.
Right.
Open the ball.
I was like, the ball is everything.
Exactly.
When Agent Harker visits Carrie Ann in the psychiatric ward, she learns that Carrie Ann was previously comatose until they found the doll. when she happened to wake up. And when she interviews her, Carrie Ann says she would have done anything the visitor asked her to please the man downstairs.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
No, 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 no.
No, no, no.
And at this point, do we see her past with her family, or is that later in the film? I can't remember. Because they kind of show what her father did.
Yeah. I think it's
mom.
like intermittent between like finding the doll, and I think maybe during the interview, actually, with Carrie Ann, we kind of get images of what happened. But with very limited explanation, it just kind of seems like the father went crazy and decided to kill everyone in the house.
Mm-hmm. But the mom was also really weird. She was like running a knife across her stomach. Yeah,
Carrie Ann said something about that. She's like, my mom always hated me. I made her bleed too much when I was born. And she's like running a knife along, like, I guess maybe her incision scar from a C-section or something.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
So Carrie Ann, I believe, was at school when it happened. Mm-hmm. So she didn't end up getting killed by her father. And that's why she survived. But with the dad, there happened to be like a priest at the home too. And he killed him. He like drives an axe into his head. And then the mom's like looking away from him. And he just like comes and attacks her out of nowhere and bludgeons her with an axe as well.
Yeah. They all died.
Yeah.
It was,
Mm-hmm. Continuing on.
Yeah, as you do. But did you notice Carrie Ann was played by Sabrina? The new Sabrina?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
She just seemed so different. I don't know.
It was the short hair.
That's really funny, though, because I make a reference to her later.
Sabrina?
Yeah, it is funny.
What? See, you subliminally knew that it was her. I'm double checking. Yep, that's her.
Huh.
Yeah. So Carrie Ann is currently willing to do whatever the intruder says. And then she says something like, if he told me to kill you, I'd be pleased as peaches or something. And
to watch your heart stop or something like that. Like watch the light leave your eyes. I'm like, oh, okay. Security.
Yeah, please get me out of here. Get me out of here.
Goodbye.
Yeah. So Carrie Ann's a little messed up right now.
Lee then theorizes that maybe each family was given a doll from Longlegs, and he has been infusing the orbs within each doll with some sort of evil energy that can possess and influence those near it. But Agent Carter doesn't believe her, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I know Lee technically does have her finger on the pulse of what's happening here, but does it have to be that?
Yeah. So this is where, like, things start taking a paranormal turn. And I didn't think there was any paranormal things with this movie. And I was like, oh, do we have to do that? I just
thought it was really good and creepy, and it didn't have to be that way.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm not out or anything. But I was like, I was just really hoping it was just a serial killer movie.
Yeah, that maybe like that's what they thought he was doing or something to explain all of the weird stuff he was doing. But I really wish they could just skip over this is all like dark magic evil stuff, you know?
Yeah. Although, to the movie's credit at this point, you only get the theory from Lee. So at this point, it could just be her making something up.
Yeah, I guess that's
But
true.
I feel like for me, I trusted the character of Lee, and especially since she has this intuition, I'm like, well, she obviously knows what the hell's going on.
Right. So how is she going to be really wrong in this scenario?
How's she wrong? She could pick out a house that had a killer in it. How's she wrong? She's not wrong. She knows.
Exactly.
So I was like, well, okay, that's probably where this movie's going to go. And we'll find out. I mean, honestly, if you're listening to this podcast, you've seen the movie. But I was like, here we go. Buckle up.
We cut to the next chapter, which is called All of Your Things. Lee goes to visit her mother Ruth as her birthday's coming up, and she insists on seeing her. Her mother is odd and doesn't say much. Like, they show several phone calls with her, and it's just weird. Like, every time Lee calls her, she's like, hello? She's like, yeah, it's me, your only child. Like, who do you think is calling you? Like, who else calls you mom? Like
Yeah. Well, that raises some questions. If there's other people are calling her, hey, mom, and you're like, who is this?
But it's like the equivalent of like when your parent leaves a voicemail for you and they're like, "Hi, honey, it's your mom." Like, yeah, I know the number. Like,
also,
I know your
who
voice.
else is calling me honey?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah. So her mom is odd and doesn't say much, but she does want to know if Lee still says her prayers. Lee says they always scared her, so she's never said them, and her mother laughed for a very long time, agreeing that it's pointless. I'm like, oh, okay.
What?
All right.
Like, you're right. I'm like, okay.
You're right. I was silly.
My bad.
Lee brings home a chest of childhood mementos and finds a stack of Polaroid pictures inside. Among them is a picture of the pale-faced man, revealing her to be the girl from the introduction, which we knew.
Yeah. Hello. And then this is also kind of weird for me. Like, what are the odds that she meets him as a kid, just lives her life, somehow becomes an FBI agent who is then assigned to the case? Like, the circumstance in which that needed to happen, like, what are the odds? Unless it's some kind of weird divine intervention.
Yeah.
I'm like, otherwise, that is so coincidental. Like, what are we doing?
I feel like it was, because later on, Longlegs talks about it briefly.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that to be a thing.
I'll talk about it when we get there, I guess.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Yeah, but I was like, that's weird.
Yeah. Knowing now that she was visited by Longlegs, she notifies Agent Carter and submits the picture, allowing the FBI to track him down and arrest him. And it happens like that. Like, it's done.
Yeah, they're like, got him. He's just standing on the side of the road.
Waiting for it to happen. Like,
okay. I guess he kind of just knew.
Yeah, I guess so. There's also that weird, like, interaction at the hardware store, and I was worried he was going to kill that family. But
oh, yeah.
He's just in there being creepy with his little eye thing.
His little eye thing. Yeah, he goes cuckoo, cuckoo with his hands. I didn't think he was going to do anything because it was just broad daylight. And obviously he has like a plan with everything he's doing. So I was like, I don't think he's just going to willy-nilly kill anybody.
Yeah. I don't know. I just felt like since they were showing them to us, that like maybe she fell into the pattern somehow. But no, not really.
Okay, I see.
And she was older too. Like she wasn't 9 like the other girls. I guess. But
no, he just had to go shopping. Even killers have to go shopping, Stephanie, okay?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I know, seriously. Unfortunately.
Yes. The detectives gather in a room to watch Longlegs' taped interview where he quotes the Bible's revelation and requests to see Agent Harker to wish her a happy birthday. And just starts singing it. And he sings quite a bit. And you're just like, please stop.
Turn the camera off. God. And then you find out he went on for like, what, 20 minutes?
He went on for like another 20 minutes or something. I'm like, for happy birthday? Like, happy birthday is like a 30-second song.
Not if you sing it 500 times.
I guess so.
So there you go.
Yeah. Lee suspects he may have an accomplice, so she sneaks in to interrogate him herself. But he simply tells her to ask her mother. Oh, and this is also the part where he says something about when you first started in the academy, we laughed about it or something. He says something like that. Like when we first found out that you got into the FBI or whatever, we laughed about the fact that happened. So I thought that was like, it must be just a coincidence rather than, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like their plan coming to fruition. But
that doesn't make sense. Because like, why would they want her to do that?
I don't think
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like, what are the odds? I just feel like that was just a little weird thing about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, the odds were kind of astronomical, especially with her not remembering it.
Right.
Meeting him.
What are the, unless it's like a weird repressed thing that she was compelled to go.
Right.
I don't know. Who knows?
He then mutters, "Hail Satan," and violently slams his face into the table until he kills himself in front of her.
And this is where I was like,
the goriest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the gore, but also Hail Satan. I'm like, well, you could have like made up a demon. I would have even been. At least
that's not exactly the devil. Like,
right. I'm like, oh my God, the devil, really? This is where we're going? This is that was the moment I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I just. It was so frustrated. Beautifully suspenseful, and I just wanted to know, because there are killers that are weird and just do weird shit without the devil being involved. So I just feel like you could make a completely original killer that's not involved with the devil to make him strange. But
yeah, that's where I was at too.
I mean, still very good with what they did. Just did it have to be the devil? Like,
apparently, yeah. Just a tad disappointed, but overall still good.
Mm-hmm. And the gore, though, of this scene.
Oh, yeah. I had to kind of close my eyes a little bit. I was like, ooh, watching through my fingers. I'm like...
Yeah. I knew it was going to go there. So I was just like, yep, he's going to go until he loses his nose. And he did.
Right off. Popped right off. He's like, I don't need that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Then we cut to the next chapter, Birthday Girls. Agent Carter is furious with Lee for intervening, believing that Longlegs acted alone without black magic or an accomplice, and orders her to visit her mother since they obviously have a connection to him. Her fellow FBI agent Browning drives her to her childhood home to confront her mother. When she goes inside to look for Ruth, she sees her mother approach the car with a shotgun and kill Agent Browning.
Well, so she did.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say I was surprised. I was like, I mean... Their mom is so weird and laid on so thick a little bit that you're like, something's up with her. Like, she's not just
a weird mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And once you kind of get the revelation, we connected the dots that the girl at the beginning was her. You're like, okay, well, the mom is obviously something happened. Yeah.
So she goes back out to stop her from killing what appears to be a child. But when she gets closer, she realizes it's a doll of herself. When Lee tells her mother that it's over and Longlegs is dead, Ruth shoots the head off the doll, telling her she's free, and Lee passes out.
But it's not just that, because she shoots the head of the doll, so the doll that represented Lee as a kid, and this black smoke comes out of the ball, but also the back of her head.
Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. I'm like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. What is that? And this is the part that I was like very confused about, because like something with the doll was connected to Lee, shot the head of the doll, and then the black smoke came out of the ball, but also her head. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm like, what the hell? What does that mean? Like,
what? I didn't think it was good, considering she fell to the ground.
Yeah, she said something about being free. And then I'm like, what?
Is she, though? Compared to what happens after? But, okay.
I don't know.
So, we can talk about it more once we get through it.
Yeah, that's fine. Speculation.
While unconscious, all of her memories come back to her, and it is revealed that Ruth has been Longlegs' accomplice ever since Lee's first encounter with him. Dun dun dun.
Shooketh.
Longlegs came back that night to subdue and attack Ruth and kill Lee as part of his satanic ritual, but Ruth begged for her to be spared. So a deal was struck that Lee would be spared, making her the missing birthday on the triangle, and Ruth would do Longlegs' bidding. From then on, Longlegs would create dolls infused with satanic magic from the basement of the Harker home, and Ruth would pose as a nun, delivering a gift from the church to bring the dolls to the families.
Yeah, also, I didn't realize Longlegs was living in her house at first.
When she first visits her mom, she goes into her kitchen to make her something, and there's a locked door in the kitchen, and I'm like, that's strange. I just thought the mom was doing weird shit. But
me too. I didn't realize it was the basement. Like, even after the movie, I had to, like, I don't know if I read it somewhere, but I was like, oh shit, that was her house.
Yeah, it had to be.
Mm-hmm. So beforehand, before Longlegs made her mom be part of the plot, he just kind of like went into their homes, which raises questions because they were always like, he gets in without a trace, but obviously he was in their house. Like, were there victims before her? I can't remember. Or was she, like, the first?
I don't think so. I think there were others based on what I read online, but then I wasn't sure whether or not it was just something stated online or it was actually said in the movie.
Okay.
Because Longlegs talks, like, a lot of nonsense as well that you're just kind of like, why are you talking to me? Because I really don't want to be looking at you.
You ugly.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, when he's talking, you're just like, wow, I just won't focus on that at all. But I feel like he did say something about him offering the deal to other mothers, like 6 other mothers, and they didn't take the bait that Ruth did. So Ruth was 1 out of 7 mothers or something that he asked.
Oh. Okay, see, I missed that too. Yeah, okay, I missed that part.
I don't know if that's exactly what was said, though. I think I just saw it confirmed online.
Oh, let me just look online and just take that as you will. I don't know.
Yes.
I didn't hear that
just
in the
believe
movie.
me. No, I have no idea.
Believe me, please. Believe me.
I have no idea if they actually said it, so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear that. But anyways, it was Ruth all along.
Yeah. Awakening in the basement, Lee answers the phone to hear the devil say, "You're late for Miss Ruby's party." Realizing Agent Carter's daughter, Ruby, has her 9th birthday that day, and that the Carter's deaths would complete Longlegs' triangle. I'm like, that was the first thing I thought of when we met this family. I was like, they are the exact same dynamic of the MO of the families he's killing. Mm-hmm. Why are you even here? Like,
yeah,
why is this man working this case?
I don't know. I would have packed up and left.
Yeah, you got to go. Also, I hate that the daughter is named Ruby and Lee's mom is Ruth because it's so close together. Like 4-letter R names. Yeah.
Oh.
I just think with this small of a cast, it's very confusing.
Oh, okay.
But so Ruby is Agent Carter's 9-year-old daughter, and Ruth is Lee's mother, the one that's working with Longlegs.
Yes.
So Lee rushes there to intervene, only to discover that Ruth had already delivered the doll to the family, who are all already possessed. The family sits briefly and nonchalantly discusses the murders that are about to take place. It's very weird. It's like the wife says something about, "It's time to cut the cake." And he's like, "Yeah, I know I have to get something to cut the cake." And she's like, "Well, you can go get it, right?" And he's like, "No, you have to come with me, and then I'll come back out here, but you're not coming back," kind of thing.
Is this something about you're already dead or something like that?
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. Like, they're all in this trance. Like, they don't realize what's being said.
Yeah. And she kind of comes out of it for a second just to react, but then is like right back into it and just kind of goes with him into the kitchen, even though she knows he's going to kill her.
Yeah. And this part...
Ruby is like catatonic, like just clutching this doll. Like, she's saying nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Agent Carter takes his wife into the kitchen and stabs her to death. When he returns to attack Ruby, Lee shoots and kills him to protect her. Ruth still believes the ritual must be completed, so she takes out a dagger to kill Ruby herself, forcing Lee to kill her mother as well. Afterwards, Ruby is still in a trance, so Lee tries to shoot her doll in the head, but her gun jams and she's unable to destroy it. Lee tells Ruby they have to go as Longlegs starts singing Happy Birthday. We cut back to the interrogation room, where Longlegs looks directly at the camera and repeats Hail Satan before blowing a kiss.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, like, Lee should have just shot the doll first. Like, just should came in, shot the doll in the head.
Mm-hmm.
But she kind of just, like, stood around and let these things happen.
Yeah. She
watches
watches this man that she, like, respects and works with, like, talk about murdering his wife, and she doesn't stop them from leaving the room or anything. And, yeah, I don't know. Her mom's, like, the whole time, like, it has to happen, so maybe that's what's holding her back. But I'm like, you're an officer. You're supposed to react.
Yeah, no, she's just, like, standing there just like,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is fine. Mm-hmm. No problem whatsoever. I'm just like, Lee, can you do something, please? So it's left open. Like, obviously, Ruby didn't die.
Yeah. Also, something that we didn't even talk about because it never really gets brought up as to why this is happening. Every time, like in the flashbacks we see of Carrie Ann's family, and a couple of other times, we see like the image of someone, like a dark figure wearing a veil with like glowing eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, who's that supposed to be? Like,
Well, then they reveal it because they take it out. It's the doll.
Oh, okay.
Under the veil.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's the doll. Yeah, it is very creepy because you barely see like glowing eyes under this thing. It's a very unsettling image.
I didn't realize, I guess. Or I thought like it was kind of like we can see it because we know evil is happening or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. But it's just a doll.
Just a doll. Okay.
Just a little doll.
Just a little doll. And we also have the shadow of Satan standing behind her a couple of times. And behind Lee in the bedroom and stuff like that when she first comes to.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, like the horn. We see the horns.
Yeah, I was like, okay, throw it out. I don't get out of here. I don't know. I was just like over that. I was like, okay,
I was disappointed with that. Like, I didn't want Longlegs to be her actual dad, but I guess in a sense, since he was living with them, he was her stepdad.
I was convinced. I leaned over to him. I'm like, Longlegs is her dad.
Yes, for sure.
And I was incorrect. But
I mean, kinda.
Stepdaddy. Long daddy. Long leg daddy.
Step long daddy. Step long daddy.
Step long daddy.
Yeah, but I mean, we've described this plot, I feel like, fairly well to give you like a good buildup of what was happening, and then just to go into the devil made me do it. I felt like it was so cheap.
Yeah, it wasn't very creative, but
I mean, done very well, but
yeah, still good.
Predictable.
Stephanie, what did you have this movie rated before we watched it?
I rated it as a 12.
Wow, one spot away.
Yeah.
And I had it as an 11.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I agree with that. I would keep it at 11.
I would keep mine at 12.
Girl, this movie made me so nervous and uncomfortable.
I was nervous going in. Like, I just watched one trailer and I was like, oh, it's scarier than Alex described. Because you said crime procedural, and I was like, yay, that's my favorite. Like,
well, that's what I thought.
So I was like, oh, it's just like a movie version of Law and Order. I'm cool. Like, and then I'm like, no, it's not gonna be. Yeah, I don't think I'd change it. I was nervous going in. I was nervous the whole time. And I mean, granted, it wasn't gory or there was like any particular scene. Well, there was a little bit. Yeah. Aside from him like smashing his face in, it wasn't the worst goriness, but like just the anticipation and creepiness. And I just hated that man. I just hated looking at him.
I was gonna say, he was just unsettling to look at and just creepy. And I think that was Nicolas Cage.
Right. Yeah. No, he did really well doing this, and I assume he was having a good time.
A blast. But it definitely deserves the I can't unsee this section of 13 Degrees of Screams.
Right. And I feel like it was good that we had like a day or so to think it over, because when we both were walking out, we were just like, yeah, this is different. Like, I feel different. You feel different?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone was saying it's like gave Silence of the Lambs vibes. And I could see that outside of the paranormal part of it.
Kinda. Yeah.
But with the whole Buffalo Bill creepy factor.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, a well-deserved 11 for sure, and a 12 for you.
Yeah. Oh. Would you like to hear about the topic?
Yes.
So, I kind of go, I won't say all over the place, but I do jump a little bit.
She did everything. She threw all
I
of it
did a
in
little
there.
jump.
Okay.
So, in regards to Satanism used in the film, I found this quote talking about how these depictions in media typically stoke further misunderstanding of the religion. So that's also my beef with using the Satanism aspect too, is like there are still Satanists today and stuff like that, even though you are depicting this film in the 70s or whatever, and that's during the time of the Satanic Panic, but you're still like insulting an entire religion when you come in and be like, yeah, the devil makes us do all these horrible stuff and now we kill people and everything. Because if you look up some of like the Satanism commandments, it's not too different from just having a firm standing in your own like self-worth and what you want for other people. It's pretty peaceful. It's not like we're gonna gouge out babies' eyes or anything. So I found this quote, and the reason I brought up Sabrina too is because this was an issue that the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina had with depicting specifically Baphomet, the statue, in their school, and kind of just giving the wrong idea of what Satanism is in general. So in the article on Sabrina the Woke Witch is a Disgrace to Baphomet by Jen Gearson, and this was in Quillette, Satanism, which originally was conceived as the biblical opposite of true Christian belief, now blurs into gauzy New Aginess. As defined by Anton LaVey, 1960s era founder of the Church of Satan, Satanism is an anti-hierarchical creed that is somehow both non-theistic and supernaturalistic. Its philosophy is deeply grounded in individualism, pleasure-seeking, and at times even ruthlessness. Satanists cut from this cloth value physical autonomy and private property, respect the lives of animals and children. They reject conformity and pretension. From the Church of Satan emerged the above-mentioned splinter group, the media-savvy Satanic Temple, in 2012. The temple prioritizes a scientific worldview and focuses on modern political issues such as reproductive autonomy for women and the protection of America's church-state divide. The Satanic Temple also is explicitly devoted to exposing the kind of sham psychological practices that led to the Satan worship social panics of the late 20th century. Unlike the Church of Satan, the temple preaches compassion and empathy and rejects all forms of supernaturalism. According to this understanding, Satan exists as a metaphor for religion against the tyranny of God. It is difficult to pin this kind of Satanism on the ideological spectrum. Many of the Satanic Temple's values and campaigns align with progressive and leftist causes. But much of its underlying philosophy is almost akin to libertarianism. It bears no resemblance to the demonic stereotypes embodied by Sabrina's oppressors, nor to Sabrina's own orthodox wokeness, which I don't like the word wokeness, but it's what the article states. But I thought this was like a good example of just like having Satanism always be like the big bad for things is kind of just unfair. I just thought it's unfair to depict people this way or other religions in a way that's not completely accurate when you don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So now shifting topics, you're probably wondering who Longlegs is based off of, as most procedural crime movies take inspiration, even limited, off of true cases, but for this instance, it isn't so. During an interview with Games Radar, director Osgood Perkins revealed that he actually doesn't like true crime stories. He explained that Longlegs couldn't be more fictionalized and totally made up. That's part of the fun of it for me. It's part of what keeps it light for me, honestly. I'm not interested in what these sickos do. To me, this is a different kind of poem, and it's totally just make-believe. And I'm like, but you made a crime thriller horror movie.
Yeah.
There's going to be comparison.
Yeah, I'm confused. Wait, couldn't... So he didn't like true crime.
He doesn't like true crime stories, but he wrote a true crime story. And
so why didn't you do anything else? Why didn't you do anything else?
Mm-hmm. I read separately too that Longlegs was like a character that he had created and just kind of like waited until like the right story came along and like interjected him into it, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like he could have still done a story, but not revolve it around FBI agents.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been less true crime or whatever.
Yeah.
Crime movies. Like you could have just done Longlegs, but not FBI. I don't know.
I think he just doesn't want the comparison to actual killers, but I just feel like whenever there's a serial killer kind of movie or show or anything, there's always going to be comparison because it's something very real that happens.
Yeah, right. I mean, like it's a serial killer. Like that's what he is. So you kind of just pigeonholed yourself into the movie. I don't know. That seems a little silly to me.
Yeah. So I went on to say, despite the director's belief on true crime, if you ignore the demonic influence, the crimes committed in the movie are that of a family annihilator, and specifically Chris Benoit came to mind. Chris Benoit, a Canadian professional wrestler, gained fame and success in promotions such as WWE and WCW. However, his life took a tragic turn in June 2007 when he committed a series of heinous crimes. Chris Benoit was born on May 21st, 1967 in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. He began his professional wrestling career in the late 1980s. And gained recognition for his technical wrestling skills and intense in-ring style. I guess he had been training since he was 12 as well, I found.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, good for him, I guess.
Yeah. It was a long time. Throughout his career, Benoit won numerous championships and earned the respect of his peers for his dedication and work ethic. But on the weekend of June 22nd to June 24th, 2007, Chris Benoit committed a series of crimes that shocked the world.
I take back what I said. Not good for him. Not good for him.
No good for him.
No good.
No good. He murdered his wife, Nancy Benoit, and their 7-year-old son, Daniel Benoit, in their home in Fayetteville, Georgia. The details of the crime were gruesome, with Nancy being strangled and bound, and Daniel being suffocated with a pillow. After committing the murders, Chris Benoit took his own life by hanging himself on a lat pull-down machine in his home. The bodies of Nancy and Daniel Benoit were discovered on June 25th, 2007, after concerns were raised by Chris Benoit's neighbors and WWE officials. He took a while to kill them. I think they even speculate that the son was killed on a separate day. Like, started June 22nd, killed the wife, killed the son the next day.
Oh my god.
And then eventually killed himself.
Oh my god. He's not very efficient.
There's a lot of reasons for that. We'll get to it.
Oh god. Oh no.
Yeah.
This is too much.
The crimes committed by Chris Benoit had far-reaching consequences and left a lasting impact on the wrestling community and the industry as a whole. WWE initially paid tribute to Benoit with a 3-hour tribute program, but quickly distanced itself from him as more details emerged. When they first thought that, he had died, it's very common for wrestlers to die because of what happens in the ring, steroids, all that kind of stuff. They just thought he was dead, and they just did like this tribute to him, and then they found out like the whole family was dead, and they were like, "Oh no,
JK. No!" We take it back.
Like they had their hand on it, and then they're like, "No, didn't touch it." Like
it wasn't us, I swear.
Yeah. The incident raised questions about the mental and physical toll that professional wrestling can have on its performers, leading to discussions about the need for better safety measures and support systems. The tragedy prompted a broader conversation about the effects of concussions and the importance of addressing mental health issues in professional wrestling and other contact sports. Chris Benoit's legacy in the wrestling industry was forever tarnished, and his name became associated with the horrific crimes he committed rather than his accomplishments in the ring. The incident also had a profound impact on the victims' families and friends, as well as the wrestling community, who were left grappling with the shock and tragedy of the events. The aftermath of Chris Benoit's crimes led to a reevaluation of safety measures and support systems in professional wrestling, sparking discussions about the mental and physical toll on performers. So I guess he had been hurt so many times, like he was just constantly functioning on his brain being concussed.
So that's why it took so long?
Why he did everything, basically. I guess even when he drove to WWE to work or something, he had like 37 different routes he would take.
Oh,
and it just seemed like he was not well. And when they did an autopsy on his body, they said his brain was like that of like an 85-year-old with Alzheimer's.
Oh my God. That's all bad. It's all sorts of bad.
Yeah, there's not like a lot of like healthcare for wrestlers, and obviously steroid use is happening sometimes, and they get seriously hurt, and then they're just expected to keep performing and keep winning and stuff like that. So it's no good.
Yeah. No, just say that was so bad.
Yeah. I mean, it did bring awareness, I guess, but obviously at the cost of that family, and that's terrible. I guess obviously WWE argues with like the fact that his brain had aged so dramatically, saying that it wouldn't be possible for him to pull off the moves he did. But they're gonna argue it anyway. I think it's just
it wasn't us. I swear, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
It was part of your problem. It was your problem. You did this.
Yeah, and I feel like the muscle memory could speak to it too. Like if you're a dancer and stuff like that, like if you do songs and stuff like that, you can just kind of immediately break out into choreographed dances that you used to dance like 1,000 times at a certain time, but don't anymore. Kind of the same, I think, with wrestling. It's choreographed in a way.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's sad.
It was very sad.
On a sad note.
Yeah. I just saw an interesting comparison, considering that that's how the families were being killed off in the movie, aside from the devil.
Yeah. Take that equation out. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show and listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, giving us a 5-star rating is super helpful, and we will always appreciate it.
You can find us on social media using 13 Degrees of Screams.
This has been 13 Degrees of Screams, and we will see you next week.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Jesse. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.